She never imagined one ordinary day could completely change her life. Every morning began the same way, an alarm ringing at 5:30 a.m., a quiet kitchen, and the smell of coffee brewing. While the rest of the neighborhood slept, she packed her daughter's school lunch, checked her emails, and whispered to herself, "Another day, another chance to keep us going." She was a single mom in her early 30s, juggling too much, rent overdue, bills piling up, and a boss who thought she was disposable. But she kept smiling. Because to her little girl, she was supermom. After a long day typing reports in a small insurance office, she left the building just as the streetlights flickered on. She was tired but relieved. She'd finally finished a big project and hoped her boss would notice. As she waited for the bus, she checked her phone. A photo of her daughter on the home screen made her smile. She didn't know that in less than an hour, her entire world would turn to ashes. When she turned the corner onto her street, she froze. Her apartment complex, engulfed in flames. Sirens screamed. People shouted. Firefighters rushed past her. Her hands shook as she screamed her daughter's name. "Emily! Emily!" A firefighter held her back. "Ma'am, you can't go in there." But before panic consumed her, she saw a familiar face, her neighbor, coughing, carrying her daughter wrapped in a blanket. She ran, grabbed her child, and fell to her knees, sobbing with relief. But as dawn broke and the fire was finally put out, she stood before what used to be her home. Charred walls. Collapsed ceilings. Nothing left but smoke and silence. Her savings, her documents, her photos, gone. Everything she'd worked years for, vanished overnight. Standing there, wrapped in a borrowed blanket, she whispered, "I can't fall apart. I have to stay strong for her." But what she didn't know was that this was just the beginning. Because sometimes, when life takes everything from you, it's preparing you for something greater. The next few days were a blur. She called friends, coworkers, anyone who might help. But everyone had their own problems. Eventually, she ended up in a crowded shelter on the outskirts of town. It wasn't what she wanted for her daughter. The floors creaked, the lights flickered, and privacy didn't exist. Every night, she tucked her little girl in on a thin cot and whispered bedtime stories, pretending everything would be okay. But when the lights went out, she silently cried. She tried to keep her job, but juggling appointments, paperwork, and rebuilding her life was too much. After missing 3 shifts, her phone rang. It was her boss. "Look, I'm sorry," he said flatly. "We can't keep you on anymore." Her voice cracked. "Please. I just need a few more days. I lost everything." But the line went cold. "I need someone reliable," he said and hung up. She stared at her phone, trembling. The last piece of her stability gone. That night, she sat outside the shelter under the cold streetlight. Her daughter slept beside her, clutching a stuffed toy someone had donated. She took a deep breath and whispered, "This isn't the end. I'll rebuild. I have to." And in that moment, broken, lost, and forgotten, she made a silent promise. A promise that would change not only her life, but the lives of everyone around her. The next morning, she did something unexpected. Instead of sitting in despair, she began to help around the shelter, folding blankets, cleaning up spills, serving food to families who had even less than she did. At first, it was just a way to distract herself from the pain. But slowly, something inside her began to heal. She saw mothers comforting children, strangers sharing meals, people with nothing, still giving what little they had. It made her realize she wasn't alone. Her kindness didn't go unnoticed. An older volunteer, Mrs. Turner, often watched her with quiet admiration. One afternoon, she approached her and said, "You've got such a kind heart. My friend owns a cafe downtown. She's looking for help. Would you be interested?" Tears welled up in her eyes. "Yes, absolutely." The next morning, she arrived at the cafe early, nervous but determined. She didn't have experience making coffee or pastries, but she learned fast. Every spilled latte, every wrong order, she took as a lesson, not a failure. Soon, customers started noticing her. Her genuine smile, her patience, her way of writing little notes like, "You're stronger than you think," on their coffee cups. It wasn't much, but it was a start. a spark of hope. And she was about to find out just how far that spark could go. Months passed. Her hard work transformed the cafe into something special. Customers didn't just come for coffee, they came for her presence. Her positivity was contagious. She became known as the Sunshine Lady, the one who never stopped smiling even after losing everything. One afternoon, a journalist came in for his regular coffee. Curious, he asked, "What keeps you so positive?" She smiled softly. "Because I know what it's like to have nothing, and I know that every sunrise means another chance." A few weeks later, her story appeared online. Single mom loses everything, but finds purpose in helping others. The article spread fast. Donations came in, strangers stopped by with hugs, letters, and kind words. She used the money to rent a tiny apartment, old, but cozy. That night, she and her daughter shared a home-cooked meal for the first time in months. After dinner, she hung a single framed photo of them smiling, covered in soot, on the day of the fire. It wasn't a memory of tragedy anymore. It was a reminder of survival. With the encouragement of her community, she decided to open her own small bakery. It took months of planning, late nights, and learning everything from scratch. When she finally opened her doors, she called it New Dawn Cafe, because after every night comes morning. She didn't just rebuild her life. She transformed her pain into purpose. But as she stood in front of her new bakery, she had one more message to share, one the whole town would never forget. The opening day of New Dawn Cafe felt like a miracle. The smell of fresh bread filled the air, and laughter echoed through the street. Neighbors, friends, and even the firefighter who had saved them from the blaze showed up to support her. She stood by the entrance, her daughter's small hand in hers, overwhelmed with emotion. When the crowd quieted, she spoke from the heart. "You can lose everything overnight," she said, voice trembling, "but never lose faith. Because what's broken can still bloom." Tears filled the eyes of everyone listening. The crowd applauded, some crying, some smiling, all inspired. Her daughter looked up at her and whispered, "Mom, you did it." She smiled, replying softly, "No, we did it." She lost everything that money could buy, but gained everything that truly matters: love, hope, and strength. Because in the end, she didn't just survive the fire. She rose from it. When life burns your plans to ashes, let it light the path to your purpose. Moral of this story: life can take everything from you in an instant. Your job, your home, your security. But what it can never take is your will to fight back. Because true strength isn't about how much you have, it's about how much you can rise after losing it all. When everything falls apart, remember, you're not being buried, you're being planted. And just like her, one day, you'll bloom again, stronger and more beautiful than ever. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs a reminder that it's never too late to start over. Because sometimes, the smallest act of hope can change someone's entire day. Subscribe to the Cherished Stories channel for more emotional, life-changing stories. Stories that remind us all that no matter how dark life gets, there's always light waiting on the other side. And remember, we're not just telling stories. We're changing lives.